The iconic red-coated soldiers of the British Empire and the legendary Japanese samurai have both left indelible marks on history. These two warrior classes, despite hailing from different cultures and eras, once faced off against each other in a fascinating chapter of the Victorian Age. This story involves daring battles, cultural exchanges, and even the awarding of the Victoria Cross to the first American recipient. Welcome to Raw History. By the mid-19th century, Japan was an enigma to the Western powers, having been closed off for centuries under the Tokugawa shogunate. The country's isolationist policies kept it largely untouched by Western influence. However, pressure from European warships and the aftermath of the Opium Wars forced Japan to open its ports. In 1858, Britain secured a commercial treaty with Japan, paving the way for foreign trade. Sir Rutherford Alcock, Britain's first consul general to Japan, was captivated by the unique Japanese culture of the Edo period, dominated by the shogun and his samurai. Initially, the samurai were merely curiosities to Europeans. They were seen as a symbol of Japan's feudal past, heavily armed and highly disciplined warriors who served as bodyguards to the Japanese nobility. However, Japan's internal turmoil soon escalated into violent conflicts with foreign legations. In 1861, British staff at the Temple of Tozenji were attacked by samurai, leading to a series of violent encounters. One notable event involved a British consul and two Marines being ambushed, resulting in the first combat between British soldiers and Japanese samurai. This marked the beginning of a tense and often violent period of interaction. Tensions continued to rise, culminating in the bombardment of Kagoshima in 1863. British forces, under Admiral Augustus Cooper, clashed with samurai gunners in a fierce battle. Despite heavy resistance and notable damage to British ships, the conflict remained unresolved. In 1864, an international fleet, including British, French, Dutch and American forces, assembled to confront the Japanese at the Straits of Shimonoseki. Following failed negotiations, they bombarded Japanese shore batteries. The landing party, composed of British Marines and naval personnel, faced fierce resistance but ultimately overran the Japanese positions. The bravery of the British forces was exemplified by the awarding of the Victoria Cross to Seaman Thomas Pride and Henry Seeley, an American who had fought valiantly despite his injuries. This marked the first time an American received this prestigious honour, underscoring the international nature of the conflict and the diverse backgrounds of those involved. Amidst ongoing political struggles in Japan, sporadic attacks continued, including the killing of two British officers by a Ronin. However, these incidents gradually diminished as Japan underwent significant reforms. The Boshin War, a civil conflict between the shogunate and imperial loyalists, further diverted attention from expelling foreigners. This internal strife ultimately led to the Meiji Restoration, a period of rapid modernization and westernization in Japan. A dramatic encounter in 1868 demonstrated the superiority of British firearms over samurai swords. British consul Harry Parkes and his entourage were ambushed by samurai, but the attackers were ultimately overpowered by the British troops. This period of conflict and cultural exchange laid the groundwork for a complex relationship between Britain and Japan. Initially characterized by hostility and violence, the interactions between these two nations eventually evolved into a more cooperative and respectful alliance. By the early 20th century, Japan had become a formidable power in its own right, in part due to the technological and military advancements adopted from the West. The encounters between Redcoats and samurai remain a remarkable chapter in the annals of military history. They highlight not only the clash of two very different warrior cultures, but also the profound changes that both nations underwent during this period. For the British, these conflicts were part of their broader imperial endeavours. For the Japanese, they were a catalyst for radical transformation and modernisation. The legacy of these interactions can still be felt today. The mutual respect that developed between British and Japanese forces laid the foundation for a significant alliance in the early 20th century. This alliance was evident during World War I, when Japan fought alongside the Allies. However, it also set the stage for future conflicts, including World War II, when Japan's imperial ambitions came into direct conflict with Western powers. Reflecting on this history, one can't help but marvel at the resilience and adaptability of both the British Redcoats and the Japanese samurai. Their clashes were not merely battles of strength, but also of strategy, honour and cultural pride. The Redcoats, with their disciplined formations and advanced weaponry, represented the might of the British Empire. The samurai, with their storied traditions and fierce loyalty, embodied the spirit of feudal Japan. What do you think about this incredible clash between British Redcoats and Japanese samurai? How do you think these historical encounters shaped the future relations between Japan and the Western world? Share your thoughts in the comments below.